Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Maine. Recommend all the listeners. When we got the news yesterday that Mr. Jones had passed, that was tough. But I do have some stories. We have on the line with us the Honorable Congresswoman Gwen Moore. Good morning, Congresswoman Moore. How are you?
Hey, good morning. And this is the day that the Lord has made. I'm telling you. Of course I learned about Gerald Jones passing, and I just don't even know how to handle that. I know he was in his 90s, but still, uh, such a giant, such a giant. And of course, Mike Brock, Mike Blake, you
Yeah,
know,
Michael Blake.
uh, yeah, we never get
You said
used to
Michael
this.
Blake. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. No, I heard you said Michael Blake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Guy I grew up with. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then, of course, we buried Anna Mae Robertson
Mm-hmm.
from the six triple eight. It was more like a homegoing than anything else. Such a treasure in our community, and I was so glad to have been a part of her getting her just due. When I first met her, we were just trying to find out what sort of medals to which she was entitled. And then we realized, well, this was a really big deal, the six triple eight. And so I was really glad to be a part of that too. I do have a personal story to tell about Gerald Jones. If you'll indulge me, forgive
Mm-hmm.
me. I know this is not why I called in, but you know, this is the day. Uh, I was born in Racine, Wisconsin, and my mother lived in Racine, and um, uh, she turned out to be a fantastic missionary and everything, but she was kind of living the high life when she was in racing, gambling, you know, drinking, carrying on. And Gerald Jones's daddy, Mr. Jones, confronted her about her lifestyle and told her she needed to come to church. And she said, I ain't got no church clothes to wear. And Mr. Jones went out and charged clothes for her and all her kids, including me, to come to church. And my mother went to church. And of course, Mr. Jones, Gerald Jones' daddy, died literally before he could pay the bill. This is at St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church in Racine. So the church took up a collection to pay Mr. Jones's clothing bill, and the rest is history. My mother became a really strong missionary Christian. And y'all laughing.
You say he died before he could pay the bill.
He died. He died before the bill got paid. Y'all is so crazy.
Well, you said the church took up the collection and paid it off, though, right?
They did, but it was worth it because my mother became a serious soldier in the army of the Lord. Uh, the bill was paid.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
The price was paid.
And that's St. Paul. I think now that's
Missionary
Bishop Kirby.
Baptist
Is
Church.
it Bishop Kirby down to Racine now? At St.
Yeah,
Paul?
yeah,
Yeah.
Bishop Curry. My mother knew Bishop Kirby. Yes, she did.
Oh
And
Lord.
his wife Renee too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but anyway,
Well,
that's
her
a true
grandfather
story.
was the founder of the church I'm at now, Pastor Sarton. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, he founded that church too?
No, Pastor Sarton founded Zion Hill.
Right, Zion Hill, where
Right.
where Renee was from. Yeah, I knew her growing up.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, he remarkable input on the community. It's really interesting. When I was little, I was telling them yesterday that we hustled to get to wrestling matches, right? I mean, we were bottle hustling, putting together because mom wouldn't give me no money. So we had to get out and figure out how we gonna do it. And one year we decided we were going to sell couriers.
And the
So I
rest
must
is
have been about 9, 10 years old. We out selling the Milwaukee Courier. You know, I hate to put it this way, but you got more money selling the Star than you did the Courier. But okay, that's anyway. You called in. We were talking about and you'd called in, I think, a week ago, and we were talking about the reconciliation bill that's currently being debated and being examined and tweaked in the Senate. But a real concern to you, many of the concerns, is the impact it's going to have on Medicaid. Talk a little bit about what if the current framework, if this bill is passed, gets through the Senate, goes back and passed through the House, what impact would that have on Medicaid, and specifically Medicaid in the state of Wisconsin?
Well, I mean, more locally, that's 60,000 people minimum that it would have an impact on. And you know, I am 63,000 would lose Medicaid coverage. That's an estimate, I think, that is underrated, because when you deny 63,000 people of Medicaid, it really is like a stack of cards. I mean, there are other things will be impacted as well, like people on the ACA, the so-called Obamacare, in this bill. There are people who are paying, you know, maybe $175 a month for the ACA. That would go up exponentially. And I'm throwing a number out, but literally it could be $500-$600 a month versus $175 a month. Hospitals, like we've seen just recently, maternity wards closing because they have a Medicaid. So this is not an individual being impacted. This is the whole healthcare system. You'll see, you know, maternity wards closing, or certain services. Community health centers. I mean, our community health centers, about, I would say, a good 70% of their revenue comes from Medicaid. Certainly, we see Planned Parenthood being affected by this, and in addition to the other sabotaging that they want to see of it, it'll affect doctors' offices. I mean, think about the providers that just may pull up out of here and go somewhere, Scottsdale, Arizona, or something, you know, where they don't have to be bothered with Medicaid patients. And that 63,000 number is only for childless adults. So that doesn't capture everybody. So, you know, that's the impact that it'll have on childless adults in Wisconsin. But it's just a piece of the damage that will be done. The other piece I'd like to bring up, and I think I'm on the side of the Republicans for this in a very sarcastic way, the debate that's going on now in the Senate. There are people like our dear Senator Johnson, who wants even deeper cuts. So I think that he might be a part of the group of people who wants to see the cut occur sooner than later. The House bill was crafted in such a way they don't want the damage to show up until after the 2026 election. Mm-hmm. You know, and then suddenly Medicaid would be cut after they win the midterm. But there are Republicans saying, hey, they want those cuts to occur now. You know, immediately, if not sooner. And so that's the debate that's going on. And then the other debate that's going on, there are actually Republicans who are in marginal districts that don't want to have an impact on Medicaid at all, which is one of the reasons that the whole electrical vehicle and energy component of the bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, was just gouged because that was an alternative to cutting even more out of Medicaid in the House bill. So I hope people are following me because like I'm boring myself talking. I don't want to talk at a 30-foot level. I just want people to understand that Medicaid is part of a larger healthcare system. And once you destroy that, it's just like a house of cards. It affects everything. Hospitals, community health centers, people on the Affordable Care Act, people who are dual eligible for Medicaid and Medicare. If this bill goes through like it is, it will all automatically trigger a $500 billion reduction in Medicare. So this is serious business. They're going after the jugular here.
And I think just so folks will understand why we're looking at some of these draconian cuts, it has everything to do with financing the tax cuts that were put in place, 2017. Like to see those tax cuts become permanent. I think I heard the thing, and people always, Joe Madison, you say you always have to listen with a third ear, right? And so there are some folks who are out promoting the big, beautiful bill by saying that if the bill does not pass in its current form, that it's going to be the biggest tax increase in history. Can you explain to people why it would be the biggest tax increase and who that tax increase would primarily impact?
Listen to Joe Madison. What they have done in this bill, it is so sardonic and cynical. And I can't think of the right word to describe what they have done. What they have done is they give temporary little boosts to things in order to entice the general public and think, oh, you're getting something out of it. They make temporary some increases for people who say make under $50,000 a year or under $400,000 a year. A tax refund under this bill for somebody under $50,000 might be about $265. And the problem is that there are people in this bill, people like the Dick Eli, who get $115 million tax deduction for just one provision of this bill. So you have to ask yourself, is the squeeze worth the juice that you get out of it? So, so for those people who say, I don't give a darn, I just want my $265 next year, they might be people that get suckered into this big, beautiful bill. The reality is that there was a choice that could have been made. They could have made permanent tax deductions for people under $400,000 a year without giving this big bonanza to billionaires. But they didn't choose to do that. This bill is in no way tethered to giving it all to the billionaires. But that's the narrative. The narrative is, oh, if you don't pass this, you're not going to get a tax cut. And the tax cut you get will be temporary. Within, and I'm not looking at my notes here, but literally in a few years, there'll be the biggest tax increase will be on people below $400,000 a year as these temporary measures disappear, while they make permanent the tax cuts for billionaires.
Rhonda wanted me to ask you about what's going on out in California and how much of that is trying to divert our attention from what's actually going on with this bill.
Well, I don't know whether it's a diversion. I guess that's an appropriate way to look at it. But this is what the president has always wanted. He has always wanted to violate the posse comitatus principle, that you don't put military on the streets of on city street. Our Constitution doesn't allow that. And he has been determined to do this. And the protest in LA about the ICE raids was he's been begging for this opportunity. He did it a little bit with Lafayette Square before, when people were protesting. This has been his military parade coming up. This has been a passion of his. As a would-be dictator, this is what he wants. He's threatened, of course, to arrest the governor of California. He's attacking sanctuary cities. And I mean, people's constitutional right to assembly is definitely being abridged by the Marines. Am I getting this right? Have been sent,
Yep.
Not just the National Guard, Marines, United States Marine Corps.
Yeah, and it has happened before where I didn't realize this, that certainly out in LA they've mobilized the Marines to come in to provide support for the police department. And then again, somebody was asking me about it before we went on the air. They said it depends on what station or what news outlet you're looking at, because Newsmax and Fox have riots in LA. And, they show the two cars on fire, and then you get this impression that they're burning down LA, which is, not what's really happening. But I think that in some ways you're right. I think he's happy that our attention is based in an area where he seems to still be doing well in the polling, where you can go out and to do it. And then the irony is how quick he was to send in the National Guard and the Marines in LA, but would not send the National Guard on January 6th to quell the real insurrection that was happening at the Capitol.
Oh, and all those people are suing to get their money back, their pensions back. Some of them have reoffended, but that's the cover up for his own culpability in inciting these riots. Exactly. So these insurrectionists are good citizens whose civil rights have been harmed, versus people who are protesting about the ICE raids and just the reign of terror that he has brought down on LA. And he promised to punish these sanctuary cities. And as you mentioned, I think it's an important distinction. That the only pole where he is not underwater is on his immigration policy, because his base loves this.
Congresswoman Gwen Moore, we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. Would you suggest that people reach out to Senator Ron Johnson to let them know their opposition to this bill?
Well, I think what would be really appropriate is for people to, absolutely, since it's over, the ball is in his court, to let them, thank you for that, to let them know they're opposed to. I also think I want people to feel encouraged, because we have scared the dickens out of these Republicans who are in marginal districts. Not saying that that's Ron Johnson. When we didn't elect Mandela Barnes to the seat, he has been emboldened. I just want to remind people that Ron Johnson was the first that I heard calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, and our candidate didn't have enough money really to expose that. But I'm telling you right now that Ron Johnson not only agrees with, lowering the enrollment on Medicaid, but he wants to get rid of Social Security. And so, he needs to know that if he ever plans to run again, that there are people who are watching him. It has worked. I want to encourage people, you're not too old to protest. You get your walker, You know, your crutches, your cane, sit in the car and hold the sign up, you know, because our protest, our exercising our First Amendment rights is working. It is working, working, working. And I'm telling you, uh, 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 this bill will change dramatically. I don't think they're going to meet their goal of getting it done by July 4th. And a lot of that has to do with the pushback that they're getting from regular people.
Appreciate you. I know
All right.
we'll be talking soon. We'll probably see you if I in person next week.
You
Next Thursday.
absolutely will see me in person next week. I'll be home.
All right. Congresswoman Gwen Moore, and again, she's talking about the impact in terms of potential cuts to Medicaid and Medicare in the current reconciliation bill that's currently being discussed, marked up in the Senate. And again, people have issues. They need to reach out to Senator Ron Johnson's office to let them know how they feel either for or against this bill. You're listening to Community Voice. When we get back, we'll be inside Be Healthy, Be You. We'll be right back.
Act 2, Be Healthy, Be You, with your host, Keith Parris, Brenda Buchanan, and Julia Means on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM.
I haven't heard we out the bed yet, so I didn't know I could start talking.
We out the bed, Jack.
All right, welcome back. We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Can I just take a few moments? I didn't get a chance because we had the interview with Congresswoman Moore just to really talk about Mr. Jones.
Absolutely.
And okay, so this is a story of how I got to now. Mind you, been there 6 years, 7 years. I would say Mr. Jones maybe, five times in my whole life. Okay, so there was an issue with one of the personalities. They were going to leave, or they ended up leaving WNOV. I was at the NAAC. They used to have this backyard picnic over at Johnson Park, and Martha Love came up to me and she said, "Did you hear about Sherwin?" And I said, "No." She said, "Oh, was whispering, he's leaving." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then she said, "Well, Mr. Jones might be calling you." I'm going, "What, to get a suggestion for me to whom he might want to replace Sherwin with?" She said, "I don't know what he want to talk to you about, but he might want to." So he called me. So that was a Saturday. Sunday, she called me and she said, "Hey, you talked to Mr. Jones?" I said, "No, I hadn't heard from him." She said, "Well, why don't you give him a call?" And so I said, "Okay, let me wait because it sounds like he might be going to ask me to come to WNOV." So I called him Monday, said, "Can you come down and meet me at the office?" That's when I found out the office was on 2nd and Monarchy. I said, "Okay." So I go down. And there, I won't name who's in there, but we're having this interview. And so Mr. Jones, he started off by saying, "Martha Love recommended you." He started it off with that. I said, "Okay." So then, I'm trying to tell him about me. Hey, I'm a retired county employee and work with the fatherhood program. My mom has bi-weekly, I guess it'd be on WGLB, and I'm just going on and da. So then he said to me, he asked me actually, he said, "So what is your program going to be about?" Then he said, "It's Michelle, she does politics." I go, "Okay, I would never tread in where Michelle is." And okay. So we're going on. So I don't know how we came up with it. We came up with the title. And so at the end, I said, "Oh, I didn't tell you." I don't know why I thought this would be the clincher. I go, I'm an ordained Baptist minister." He said, "I don't care. Martha Love recommended you. That's all that really matters."
He did not brattle the tongue.
No, he didn't. He said, "I don't care. I don't care." All I know is Martha recommended you. So I
So you got the job.
But he said this to me, and he said that he gave me a quote from Aristotle, and he talked about the importance of being balanced. He talked about how important that was, that you got to be balanced. You got to be balanced. And I thought, okay, I can do that. This morning, you all ran the interview he did with Gerard. And in that interview, he talked about the importance of science. He talked about the importance of facts, right? And so if he liked me, that's probably why he liked me, because and when he was recognized, by Cardinal Stritch, and they had a nice little gathering for him down on 2nd Street. He came in and they took me over to because everybody was around him, and he said to me, he said, "I really appreciate you and thank you." And I was like, "Oh," I said, "I thank you for taking the risk of letting me come on your radio station, because, other than maybe if somebody heard me on WGLB, you wouldn't have known. you know what it was. So he did that. I'll tell this other little thing. We had we can get a little crazy. We can get a little crazy, and sometimes you can have certain people in here that we just go. I don't know if Debo remember this. We'd had this little running joke about Michelle. Michelle was in her comfortable church shoes, and we started talking about her in her white comfortable shirt. So that turned into everything. We started talking about everything, and then we started talking about old ladies and church candy.
The stuff you,
really
didn't really want to eat.
Yeah.
You really telling that one?
To the point Debo had called. I mean, we rolling. Oh man, we're rolling. We get a phone call. Oh man, I cannot think of what mother's name is. She's gone home to be with the Lord. She called in. She said, if y'all keep on talking about old ladies and church candy, I'll never listen to WNOV again. At 11:01. I get a phone call from Sandra Robinson saying, we need to see you on 2nd Street. There's a movie called Donnie Brasco. It was interesting because Michelle was alluding to, like, in Donnie Brasco, there's this whole line that when you get sent for, you don't come back. So at the end of Donnie Brasco, the last time he got sent for, he took off his watch. He took out his wallet because he wasn't coming back. So it'll always be, when I get a call from 2nd Street, you've been sent for, right? So Ms. Robinson said, yes, we want to meet with you. That was Thursday. I want to meet with you tomorrow after the program. And I called DJ Thursday night. I said, hey, man.
This is my last day.
I could really be in trouble. So we really need to do a straight program on Friday. That was the most professional program.
I bet.
So at 11:02, I get a phone call from Sandra Robinson said, you don't need to come to 2nd Street.
You honestly got the message.
I was so close to getting fired when I first got here.
Old lady in the church.
Oh man, we missing those old ladies. Oh my God, what is that sister's name? Mother Rose. With that mother, because we had Miss Rose, but that was Mother, right?
Yeah, there was a Mother Rose and there was a Miss Rose.
Mother Rose. She called in, and he was listening because he listened every day. Because the complaint he always had about me was, why are we paying that theme music so long?
Yeah.
You know, you need to get started.
Yeah.
You need to get started.
You're right. Cut it off. Shut that
You ain't
down
got
right
to play
now.
the whole song.
So I'm going to miss Amanda. I said the first time I ever saw Mr. Jones in person in my life, I'd seen him other things. We were on the same plane, went out to the Million Man March. And so when we would, but I want to believe that he saw something in me, and I appreciate the fact that he saw something in me and how patient they really were in terms of allowing me to kind of grow.
Your development.
I'm sorry?
Your development.
Yeah. I mean, just listening to a commercial I just cut, and it used to be that Keon and then Debo used to hate it because they have to edit it, right? It'd be 42 takes of me doing one paragraph.
He's not exaggerating either.
I know, I'm not exaggerating. Certain words I couldn't pronounce. Homer wear me out with the words I couldn't pronounce, right? It just be wearing me out. He said, Keith, that's not how you pronounce that. But I'd be able to do it. But cut an ad the other day, and it was like, boom.
Yeah.
And what's ironic, since he brought it up, is that typically, because I said to him, man, when you get off the air, I need you to cut this. But we had about 8 to 10 minutes in between shows. We go in. I said, well, hey, man, if you've got time, we can cut it right now. He got it done before the show started.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Jones. I know, and thank you for the family. They so, and I won't say the rest is history, but it really is. And then when I think about, I got here partially because Eric Vaughn had passed, and then when I got here, Ernie G It meant so much to me. Ernie came up. He said, I got to see if I can do my Ernie G voice. He go, Keith, mate.
That's pretty close. Look, bro. Look here, little bro.
I'm glad you're here, bro. I'm glad you're here, bro. And that meant a lot.
Yeah.
That meant a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, just coming in, hearing that from Ernie, and then to lose Ernie, and then the brother I never wanted, and Ken. That was, and wow.
We were just kind of going through the list, man. Polly Williams, different ones that have come through these doors that we work with down through the years. Rockman Jr., just so many, personalities that have come and gone for one way or another, shall I say?
Yeah, and I was 11 when WNOV first went on the air, and I can remember how excited we were that one, it was a black-owned and operated radio station.
Mm-hmm.
The WAWA at that point was white-owned. I think it was Suburban Air at that point that owned them. So Milwaukee is very, very unique because we at one point had 3 black-owned radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
We still have 2 now. And when you think about most of the radio stations that you see, they call it urban format, but they're white-owned.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. Where this is a black-owned and operated radio station. We were having a production meeting. All staff was there. And I said, that's the thing I like about WNOV. It's a black station.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, or different. It's a black station. And so authentically, and again, as Michelle said, to allow us our voice, there, for me anyway, there was never any censorship. And then that's the thing about radio that maybe sometimes people might miss. Michelle kind of alluded to it in terms of the platforms we give people and don't necessarily receive any compensation for that airtime. And but radio is a business. It's a business. And I think that for a lot of us and for the people, and I'm amazed sometimes at our breadth and scope in terms of the people who listen to WNOV. But it is a business, and part of how it stays on the airways is that people spend money here at WNOV.
And not just that, Keith, even with the advertisers that you hear on our airways, to go back to those people and spend money with them,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And just say, hey, I heard it on NOV, and that keeps them buying from us, and they're getting ROI on their investment. So it one hand washes the other. This business, as you spoke to,
right? And like I said, it's rare now. You learn a word called discretion. And it's something that Brenda Beckley said to me and Rhonda in a relationship, but I think it applies to life. She said to us, everything that comes up don't have to come out.
That's right.
It could be right.
About that. Yeah.
It could be the truth,
Yeah.
but it might not be the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that some of us, I just eulogized the sister Saturday, and I said she didn't always have filters. She kind of lets you know, but there'd be things that you feel very strongly about. But I've really learned a lot, and again, so I really want to thank him for the trust that he put into me, because what George, I don't know, a little while back, George called in and said that when I first started, oh man. Some people made it sound like I was like the worstest.
The worstest.
The worstest talk show host ever of all time. And some days I felt that way. Like you missed this, you missed that. But great opportunity. And someone asked me when I first started, how long do you think you'll be there? I said, well when it's not fun anymore, I won't do it. And it's always been fun. Now, what I mean by it's fun is that we've in the 7 years coming up that I've been here, a lot has happened. And a lot of different emotions. And we're able to get through it. I think certainly WNOV during COVID, especially during the lockdown, We truly was that voice.
Mm.
We were that outlet. A lot of people tuned in. And so we take it real seriously. On Friday, DJ had corrected Devo about we don't call it a show, we call it a program. And that goes back to my mother, right? And this idea that we have a responsibility to get information out to the community, take that very seriously. Certainly, my colleague Michelle does a masterful job of getting information out. When people ask me, "What's your show about?" I said, "I still listen from Seinfeld, everything and nothing." We can have the most serious conversations, and then sometimes we can have the silliest conversations. But that's all part of the community square, and to be able to have that opportunity and be able to come in and people to be able to voice and feel comfortable being able to do it. I'll say this and then we'll thank you all for being so patient.
Oh, no, no problem.
That
Enjoy the tribute.
we one of the things that my mom used to say was that because people walk up to her and go, "Oh, I listened to your program. I listened to your program." But I was going to call in, but I wasn't going to call in. And I didn't call in. My mother said, call in. Part of that is then to let the late Mr. Kinlow know that people are actually listening because he took a risk. I mean, you're talking about a station that had his format was gospel and religion. And then you have a program that's really focused on community. And he again, and Pastor Joel Kinlow, in a lot of ways, like Gerald Jones, in a lot of ways, I admire both these men, and but to be able to allow us to be able to get that information out. My mother said our responsibility is just give people information, and then they will decide what they're going to do. That's why, and I probably spend more time than I'd like to talking about religion, but as much as possible, I try to do it from a neutral position, even though I have my own personal convictions, because one, everybody doesn't subscribe to what I subscribe to, and two, but you also want people to be comfortable when they call in, which was one other thing. I'd seen someone do this. Just because people are not formally educated does not mean they're not intelligent, well-read, and well-informed.
All right.
And I think that sometimes those of us who are formally educated have a tendency to be condescending to people who are not. And so I made up my mind that will never be my approach to how when people call in, how we'll treat them. Now, we do have some folks calling in. I'm just going to keep it 100. And you be going like, dude, ma'am, what have you been smoking? But that's all part of our community. It's not as if those people are not out there, Shakita.
But the positive about that is they raise issues that other people think about. So it allows us to address those and maybe in
I would have said that
truthful way.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it. I'm not saying you was wrong, but yeah, I mean, they go like, you should have cut such and such off. I would have cut them off. I'm going, no, Keon's not here anymore.
I was going to say, Keon could cut him off real quick. He'd be in a kind of, whoop, it's gone.
Did I cut him off? You cut him off. Yeah, I was quick. Or what he do with me, he turned my mic off. Like, dude, wait a minute. My program, what you going to turn my mic off? But it's good. And then just even the opportunity that I've had, again, that all starts with being able to be here, to be able to do this feature, like to be healthy, be you, which people will always. I was. It's funny how they tie me and Michelle together. So we were at the cemetery after the interment, and sister come up to me, and she said, "Where's Michelle? Where's Michelle?" So I thought she was having a senior moment. I said, "No, Rhonda is over there." I thought she was. No, she was looking for Michelle Bryant. She knew exactly what she was talking about. She said, So yeah, I mean, I'm not Thank you, Mr. Jones, and thank you, Jones family, again for taking a shot with a guy like me.
Mm.
So
And I just have to say it's wonderful to be able to have his daughter carry on his legacy and to have been able to start that during, so she still had his support and could learn from him, and to be able to be here and carry on his legacy. That makes it so much better.
yeah, and this is a tough business,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to make mistakes. But yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and they didn't get rid of me because people ask, "Hey man, how's radio going?" I'm going, well, they ain't fired me yet.
Right.
Still here.
Yeah, I've been close. I've been like I danced on the edge, but yeah, so anyway, thank you, Mr. Jones, and again, thank you, Mary Ellen, and all the staff here to, for me anyway. I'm just speaking for me now, to provide the support. We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Brenda Buchanan, Miss Shakina Williams. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
to Be Healthy, Be You with your host, Keith Parris, Brenda Buchanan, and Julia Means on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM.
Let me brush my teeth. I'll be right back. I'll be right
Wash
back.
your face.
Welcome back to Community Voice, and we're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Brenda Buchanan and Miss Shakina Williams. Hey, Shakina, welcome back.
Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Hey, Key, how you doing?
Smiling and caring all.
Hey, Key. Hey,
She hasn't made you mad yet, has she?
Right, that part.
Hey.
Almost like a kid that's gonna ask you for some money. Hey, kid, can I borrow $50?
But well, welcome back, dear.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Is that right?
Always.
Every time
Every time
you come in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, and it's interesting that I'd had this conversation prior to you all coming on the air with Congresswoman Gwen Moore and talking about the possible impact of this current budget bill and tax bill and what will impact on people having access to health care. And that a significant number of people could be eliminated from that access. So how important are healthcare navigators, especially during these times?
Healthcare navigators are very important because we meet you where you are. So we have community events. So a lot of times going to the doctor's office can be very intimidating. So when we have these community meetings, you'll be around other people that's going through things that you're going through as well. So we're able to have that more of an intimate connection with you to get you connected to healthcare and resources.
It can be pretty daunting when people are trying to get health insurance because a lot of it's really based on what you can afford. Income has a lot to do with it. So what kind of, when you talk about navigating access, what are we talking about? Access to which particular programs?
Primary care. We also have a maternal health program, the Blanket of Love program, as a lot of people may know. So we help moms that are pregnant or have babies up to 1 year old. Also food security that can be in our maternal health program and with our seniors as well. And people with diabetic issues with diabetes, basically. We have a food pantry to where they can be able to get healthy groceries. Also, we have many other things, the Under 8 program that usually helps those with the Under 8 program. We have blood pressure education that we do, help people with their blood pressures and how to manage those. We have quite a few things that we can connect patients with.
Did you watch the BET Awards?
No, I did not.
And they had the two guys on for the DraftKings, the brother.
Are you talking about Drewski?
Yeah.
And Kai? Oh, I love that. I seen that clip.
So Drewski said, "I can't see it," and Kevin Hart go, "Cause you got the sugar."
Yeah, you got the sugar.
You got the sugar. You got diabetes. He said you couldn't see. You got diabetes. But yeah, I mean, I think when we we always talk about, first of all, when we look in our communities, these micro communities, when you look at Black and brown people, our health disparities are such where there's probably a greater need for us, one, to have primary health, a primary physician, but over and beyond that, to be able to get in to see someone to get treated, because a lot of times we have people like diabetes and that's just going untreated, and then it just manifests itself, in an acute disease.
And we know, because we're in those spaces where people live and where they're comfortable and they're more likely to, build a trusting relationship. We find there's just people that don't even know how to make an appointment. And so Shakina is really good about that. She can sit down with them, help find a doctor is accepting patients, somebody that she may have worked with in the past that she trusts, and being able to get people into some, healthcare, because a lot of people don't even know where to start. And we find a lot with young women, they don't have primary care providers. They have
Yes.
OBGYNs, and they think that that doctor takes care of everything. And they don't. They don't have the expertise in that. Even if they order labs for you, they can't follow up on them. If they're abnormal, you got to find a primary. So even just the education on what a primary doctor is and why you should have one, how often you should see them. But that's the beauty of having people out there. We've only got a couple nurses, but we have more navigators to extend that reach, and they can be a connection from them to the hospital as well as to us, to be able to reach more people in the community.
And I just want to bring it to a point, because I'm a huge advocate for nurse practitioners. Don't be concerned or worried just because it's a NP behind a name and not MD. Nurse practitioners can be able to see you. They have their own clinics. They're very educational. There's new sciences, new studies, new things that they, was in school and they witnessed and they seen for themselves. So it's okay to have a nurse practitioner be your primary care, or even just oversee your health until you find a doctor that works for you. Because a lot of times they go in these appointments and the doctor don't really break down with to their understanding, and they miss opportunity to ask the questions that are necessary because they wait till they get home and then they call the medical assistant, then they got to go to the nurse, then they got to call, and it's just like after that they just give up. So just while you're there, see the nurse practitioner, ask those questions while you're in those rooms, in those spaces.
Is there a difference between navigators and community health workers?
Well, technically, community health navigator for us is a little bit more specific to programs, and but all of our community health navigators are community health workers.
Yes,
because we knew that was important. So even if they weren't community health workers when they started with us, we did send them to school to become community health workers. So you can be a community health navigator and not be a community health worker, but most places are seeing the benefit of that, because a lot of health navigators may be doing things within the hospital, but don't have those community connections. And so Shakina's also a medical assistant. So she's got 3 hats that she, knowledge that she can put into what she does. So that's even more of a benefit for us.
Yeah. And we don't do things like basically case by case. What you laughing at?
All those hats.
She got mine. She got them. Sometimes she got all 3 on at one time.
Here, where you gonna put that hat?
I already knew. I just knew you was headed there.
Here's another hat.
Wait a second. She's a certified nursing assistant now too,
Yes,
right?
I am.
So she got 4th hat.
Got 4 hats.
Yeah.
CPRF, PCW. I do a lot of stuff.
You lazy bum, you only 2 jobs.
that college commercial. You look at you ain't doing nothing. You just sitting on the couch. CDC
Oh. That's another job.
That's after 4:30.
I got 5 jobs. But I think one of the key words here is community.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
That these people come from the community and they look like the community. How important is that they look like the community that they serve?
Oh, it's extremely important. It's extremely important because the relationships that we can gain from that. We actually had a mom that I talked to for maternal health, and I actually was calling her and registering to the Blanket of Love program, and she was a teen mom, and I was able to relate to her and encourage her and motivate her. And we had an emotional kind of moment on the phone, but I had to let her know I was a teen mama as well. And I had my struggles and I had my difficulties, but look, I'm here on the phone helping you. And one day you're going to be on the phone helping someone else. So you're able to go through the journey as someone that with somebody who went through the same journey as them or similar. So we're more relatable to them and struggles and things that we went through in our own life. So where we know how to navigate them to the right spaces and places because we know what we needed in that moment or in that time of our journey. So
And we know that just when you're just developing a relationship, people who look like you, we tend to gravitate to. You know, like on our south side, we do have Spanish ladies that are in the same role as Shakina, but that work with those ladies that are non-English speaking, that have needs that she understands that we may not know about, the especially more so the Mexican culture. She's, so it is important. It's not always necessary, but it does help with building those trust relationships right away, because we know people of color don't necessarily trust healthcare. We just had a situation where one of the groups that we teach, one of the ladies automatically made a negative comment about someone in our department that was not a person of color, not thinking that person could provide education to them because they weren't. I know that's not true, and she learned that was not true, but that was her first impression.
I think it especially because if nothing else, I know we all have the cultural kind of things we deal with, but if you're talking woman to woman,
yes,
and mother to mother, that's kind of a universal experience in terms of pregnancy. Now, we have to take in your environment and all those things, but your body is responding to that pregnancy, right? And so if you're talking about from the health piece of it, becomes real important because, again, women will generally, I've never been a mother.
I was wondering, like,
yeah. Thank you.
It's like I used to joke when they be talking about ovarian cancer. Say, "Oh, my ovaries are hurting." But to be able to, I think that, and I think maybe that helped her overcome a lot of that. But I think, for example, we have a growing Hmong community,
Yes,
and there's some cultural things that happen in the Hmong community. We have a pretty, I would say, significant, but we have a Bantu community here. These people who come from Central Africa and the things, because a lot of times culture can have impact on how we view healthcare.
And for me, when I'm doing nutrition education, I have to know what the foods are you eat. I can't just sit down and tell you eat this, not that, if I don't understand what is common for you to eat. What are the common foods that you eat as part of your culture? If I'm, working with a Mexican patient who has diabetes, and I'm telling them that they should limit their bread to how, and what type of bread, I can't tell you how many times I've been told, well, I don't eat bread. But yeah, you eat tortillas at each meal. That's part of your normal culture, what you do. And so helping them understand, well, that would be bread. But if I don't understand that, and and they say, oh, I don't eat bread. Oh, okay. But I know to ask, well, do you eat tortillas? Yes, I eat 2 at breakfast. I eat this many at lunch, just like we might eat bread throughout the day. So if you don't understand the basics of their culture and certainly don't want to offend them by doing something that we don't even, that may not offend us, but them, working with the Jewish population, Nancy and I had kind of a program that we had to do for them years ago. And we had to learn really quickly a lot of do's and not do's when working with that population so that we didn't offend anybody.
Especially where St. Joseph's is located,
right?
Because that's an Orthodox,
right, and that's
Jewish
the
community.
population we were working with,
right? And I'm amazed at the relationship St. Joseph's has with that particular community. I think the rabbi talked about how the number of children that were born there from that community at St. Joseph's, which is really interesting because St. Joseph's obviously part of a Christian network, but always when we're doing when you're having your concert series and just to see just the broader range of people that, and the trust that they have. I think that part of, I'd like to believe my growth is understanding that many people do things differently.
Yeah.
And something I just learned about, we talk about culture and what that looks like. But then I've also learned now about halal. which is similar to kosher. Halal means allowable.
Mhm.
And so for Muslims, this is what you can eat, right?
Mhm.
And it's the same. Kosher says that this has been certified. They pointed out with halal, kosher is kind of the same thing, how the animal was killed, how you dealt with the blood. You understand that cultural piece. And then for us, many of us as descendants of enslaved Africans,
Mhm.
pork is king.
Yeah, well, that's what you got, right?
Right, pork. You know what we could do
Mhm.
to pork. I was talking to someone, two young people from our church are going to Puerto Rico.
Oh.
And if you ever been to Puerto Rico, you find out on that island, pork
Pork
is
is-
big. It is,
Mhm.
pork is really big. You know, you like all these chickens running around here, young.
Yeah.
Even though they do have a lot of churches chickens there, but it's
Mhm.
like you see all these chickens running around here. So understanding the cultural
Mhm.
differences, and to be able to have those conversations. One of the benefits I had in working in health and human services was that I had to be, I think the term that came into vogue was cultural competency,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
how we need to be mindful of our customer base and that what they bring in with them, because those things, culture can get in the way of what you're trying to communicate to
Oh,
them
sure.
Yeah.
and trying to help. Or some people come from a cultural background where you don't reach out for help,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, so if let's say you go to an event and the primary audience is African American, they sit some food in front of you that I ain't eating that. That's a cultural competence piece, right? This is the audience I'm serving. What are the food options when I order for my blanket of love at Maida House compared to at St. Francis? My menus are different. My St. Francis people are all women that are of Mexican culture, and most of them don't speak English. They love pork. I can get, pork in itself is not horrible. It's more, at least from a health standpoint, it's more how it's prepared. And, the sausages and stuff like that are more of an issue. But, I would never serve that with my because half of them are like, I ain't eating that pork, so we never order pork for that. So, but you have to know.
I love righteous black people.
Oh.
I love righteous black.
I love
too.
pork.
Ain't nothing like righteous black people, brother. I'm swearing off the swine.
No, people crack me up at the food pantry. Oh no, I don't eat that pork. You give them, I don't eat that, but I take some of them bratwurst instead. Dude, where do you think the meat in that bratwurst came from?
Yeah, I don't.
Mhm.
But I think it becomes. But you can learn a lot. My mother, back in the day, was pre-diabetic,
Mhm.
and it just so happened my mother was selling books for the Seventh-day Adventist publishing company. So they sell Bibles and things. And my mother, they got this book on diet. And I believe that book saved my mother's life because she began to adopt some of the things they did in terms of diet, because Seventh-day Adventist pretty much has the same dietary code as Jews, as Jewish people, in terms of what they don't eat. And you're right, a lot of why we eat what we eat had everything to do with enslavement, post-enslavement. Pork was cheap. I heard this story, though, which has nothing to do with anything, unless you grew up in Milwaukee, about mock chicken legs.
They had my chicken legs in Michigan too, honey. They didn't just have them here.
I love my chicken.
I grew up with them in Michigan.
And this is what I found out. There were places.
Uh-oh.
There were places, Cincinnati. There were places in Michigan, places in Pittsburgh. And what the development of the mock chicken leg was, that people, and I realized that people couldn't afford chicken. They couldn't afford chicken, was expensive.
Yeah.
And so someone came up with this idea: we'll take veal and we'll take beef and we'll press it and bread it and then do what you have.
Make it in the shape of a chicken leg.
Right. And I thought Milwaukee, MPS was, but no, if you go to Pittsburgh, if you go to Cincinnati, they're wherever. What I'm saying is, in terms of necessity and what we do and why we eat what we do, a lot of our diets was really based on
what was
what
available.
we could afford, what was
Mhm,
available.
mhm.
Yeah.
And we
Um,
know during enslavement, you got the leftover pieces that they didn't want. So those, and that's what you were given. So that's what you learned to eat, and you made it tasty because that's all you were getting.
We in our Sunday school book, they'll give you the words, certain words you want to look for, and they'll give you definition. They'll give you Hebrew pronunciation of the word and the English pronunciation of the word, actually. And there was a word which is Latin, victuals. Victuals. I know what victuals are.
Mhm.
You would have to be a Beverly Hillbillies fan to understand
Mhm,
victuals, because
mhm.
what did Granny make?
That's what you
Vittles.
call vittles.
They make
Mhm.
vittles, and so
All the time, making
that
some
word
them
vittles,
vittles smell good,
because
Granny.
in the South,
Mhm.
post enslavement, poor whites ate what poor blacks ate.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
Union soldiers took the beef; they didn't want the pork, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why pork is so big, because it just became one of those things again that people could afford.
Yeah.
And a
Mhm.
lot of what we look at in our diets, and again, there's also causal that our diets impact our health, right? But
Mm.
a lot of it was, how do you make intestines palatable?
Mhm.
Mm.
And poor whites
Mhm.
ate it. In Mexico, they eat chitlins. They have their own way
Yeah,
of
they
preparing
do.
it.
They do. They
They
make
do.
chitlin like looks like a tostada, and it's got chitlins on
Right.
it, and
So,
yeah, it's big.
so a lot of
You see
what
it on
we
our
do.
food trucks here.
Yeah, Apple store. No,
Mm-mm,
it
no.
look like it.
Yes,
That's what that
but
look
you'll
like.
see it. It'll say chitlins on the little.
Oh.
There's a couple food trucks here that have it.
I had a
I almost fell out at one of them.
Yes.
Like,
well, I
what?
had
I
a
don't want.
co-worker and Mexican sister, and she loved tongue.
Mhm. Rocky Mountain oysters or hog maws is
What are hog maws?
well. That's what my dad called them, but they're really Rocky Mountain oysters.
Which are just
Yes. You said a better word than I was going to say. Testicles.
Yeah.
Cut them babies up, fry them.
Ouch!
Fry them in a pan. I remember this is
Which your
terrible.
ovaries hurt.
Right.
Your ovaries. Your testicles hurt.
Right.
Ouch! Ouch!
And this is the kind of kid I was. I remember my dad made some, and I took some out and gave them to all my friends, and didn't tell them what they were until afterwards. Yeah, it didn't go. These were all my little white friends.
Well,
Have some. Oh, these are good. What are they?
oh, yeah, but when
man.
you,
Oh my
but
God.
even Polish cuisine, like
Uh-oh.
blood soup,
Yes, blood
blood
sausage,
sausage. Yeah, I was
Polish and German.
in German.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, when it comes to sausages, this is
Germans are
one of the greatest
king.
places to have sausages, like in Milwaukee, like here, and the Polish sausage. There was a guy I knew, he came to Milwaukee for a conference,
Mhm.
and he must have been downtown, and he got over to Usingers, and so
Mm.
he had never had a bride.
Mhm.
He ordered that once he
Yeah.
went back to where he went back to, because it really is one of those kind of local things. But when it comes to sausages,
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay, hot dogs are sausages, right?
Well, not really.
No,
Yeah, they are. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if but I've been to
when you
a.
think of sausages, what
Well, I think of brats and that kind of stuff. But
Polish?
yeah,
sausage?
but I've been to a hot dog factory, so that kind of that changed my
Yes.
thoughts on hot dogs.
Yeah, that's what we say a lot of times. People, when you're behind the scenes, you know how the sausage is made,
Hmm.
and even though a brat is just really great, you don't probably want to see.
Yeah. Don't ruin it for me. That's like the
Mhm.
only thing I'll really go for.
This is how it's made, right? And you be going like,
I've seen sausage made too, that like bratwurst and that. I'll take that over seeing a hot dog made. So
when I was a little guy, I was in
I
Tennessee,
know.
and I saw when they slaughtered a hog, and how that's all done. I mean, but then to watch them grind up the sausage,
mhm.
which is
Everything's in there.
which is You know, everything is in head cheese.
Yes. Oh, my mother used to make head cheese. Lord help me.
Man.
And as a kid, when I didn't know any better, I ate it. But when I got older and looked at it, I was
My
not
daddy
eating
used to
it.
love that. He loved it.
Is that right? With
My daddy loved it with some
some
crackers.
saltines. Don't
Yeah,
you?
my daddy. Yeah,
And my
He
mother
like, "Go
would
get
make
me
hers with a little pepper in it. So like red pepper, it'd be spicy.
Yeah, my daddy would give me $2 worth.
Some about that hog head cheese.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
stank, man.
It stank so bad.
Yeah, it
It's
smell like
gross,
toes.
Yeah, but
Smells like toes.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
Smell like a big shoe, like Hustle. That's what it smells like.
you know what? And this is how it has to work for me. I just have to eat too much of it to stop eating.
Really?
Yeah, man. At one point,
Mm.
there used to be a Mallett's. I go to Mallett's regularly to get my head cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day somebody said, "Bro, you know what's in that?" And then I went like, "Ooh."
Yeah, because don't they have it like hot, mild? And
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then they've got different types. Nowadays you can see, has different things in it. But
So what's in the hog head cheese?
everything.
Everything
they
and-
didn't use.
Yeah.
Mhm. Pieces.
Yeah, the shorter. It'll
Say
be
pieces.
shorter to say what's not in there.
Oh, well, give me that version.
Good
know,
stuff. Healthy
Not
stuff.
veggies.
Healthy,
Right.
healthy.
Not right. Nothing healthy.
Yeah.
And,
Not whole grains.
at the Mount, we're in Maryland, so we weren't that far. Well, maybe 50, 60 miles from Chesapeake Bay. So seafood was really big, and crab cakes really big out in Baltimore.
I've
And
never had
the whole
crab
thing.
They're delicious.
So at the Mount, they used to have something called surf cake.
Mm-hmm.
And so we asked one day, what's in the surf cake?
Everything.
They said fish bits.
Oh man. Fish bits.
Fish bits. So anything that didn't go into, they put it into this little surf cake. And you know what? All those years out there, 4 years, I never had a crab cake.
Mm.
I never had a crab cake. And then once I figured out what was going on with the fish bits,
Fish bits.
You're like, I'll have the crab cake.
Some fish and chips.
fish and
So what was that?
fish and chips is very
Fish and chips
interesting.
was good.
Fish and chips is very interesting because
It was good.
fish and chips were the way you're supposed to do it is with vinegar.
Yeah, that's how.
Really?
In England, yeah, and they would put it in
Vinegar.
newspaper, and you would have your potatoes, and you'd have the fish. And
So didn't we have a fish and chip here?
Arthur Treacher's,
Arthur Treacher's, and that was good. Arthur Treacher's
Yeah, I
was
thought
really
it was.
tasty.
and then Big Boys.
Yeah.
That's what they did with the vinegar.
So which one? The one they used to be
All
on
of them.
Capital.
The one on Capitol, one
So they used to
downtown.
fry it and then put the vinegar on there?
Yeah, you
or-
put like you would.
Yeah,
put
you sprinkle
tartar
like
sauce
you
or
would do hot sauce, tartar sauce.
Yeah.
They still do that in a lot of the places that do Friday fish fries.
Yeah.
You could have the option of vinegar.
Really? I
Just
never
don't,
knew
yeah, they just
Mhm.
don't seem like it's
Yeah,
like
like
tasty.
Well, you
fit.
figure hot sauce has a base of vinegar.
Does it?
Hmm.
that. Yikes. Learn something new
You
every day.
guys, listen,
Do you make like I make my own pepper sauce for like my greens and stuff like that? That's a vinegar.
There's a cook. I'm gonna tell you how I know she's a cook.
I was like,
When she said my greens.
oh yeah. She claimed that thing. Then she put a stamp on
When
it.
you put on like see on
Yeah.
my chicken, then you go like, oh, that's the dish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your my? What's that thing that you make where it's just so special?
Meatloaf. I love my meatloaf. I love making meatloaf.
Mm.
Yes, that's my
That's when you
Listen.
make my meatloaf.
meatloaf. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
My mama biscuits.
My mama biscuit. My mama biscuit.
No, my mama biscuits.
Mama biscuits. You're listening to the LWU. We're gonna take a quick break and be right back.
AURN News.
The United States now ranks second in the world for people with no religious affiliation, behind only China and just ahead of Japan. That's according to a new Pew Research Center report that tracked global religion from 2010 to 2020. The number of religiously unaffiliated people, including atheists, agnostics, and those with no stated faith, grew by 270 million. That brings the global total to 1.9 billion. Christianity is still the largest religion in the world with 2.3 billion followers, but it didn't grow fast enough to keep up with population growth, and Christians declined as a share of the world population by nearly 2%. Meanwhile, Islam saw the biggest gains. Muslims added 347 million people worldwide, more than all other religions combined. And in a major shift, Pew found that sub-Saharan Africa now has more Christians than Europe. For URA News, I'm Jamie Jackson.
Here's your updated forecast. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the west around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly clear skies develop below near 61. By Wednesday, mostly sunny, high of 81 degrees. Thursday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy skies, a high of 65. Friday, a chance for showers and storms. Cloudy, high around 66. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on AM 860, The Voice.
Hi, this is Jermaine Rideout. Did you know that Marvin Gaye spent the 1960s becoming Motown's biggest solo star and one of the biggest soul artists in the world? However, it was his work in the 1970s that would make an even bigger impact. What's Going On was a landmark achievement in the R&B genre, as Gaye became one of the first soul artists on his level to dedicate an entire album to social issues. His production work on What's Going On, an iconic album that follows, such as Let's Get It On and I Want You, would go on to influence the future of R&B music, including Quiet Storms and Neo Soul.
This Black Music Month vignette is brought to you by Milwaukee County Office of Equity. June is Black Music Month, and Milwaukee County Office of Equity joins WNOV in its salute. African American artists have created and influenced various forms of music, from gospel to rock and roll, removing cultural barriers from millions around the world.
The Granville Blues R&B and Gospel Fest 10th anniversary is the party that never ends. 2 weekends back to back, June 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Then June 27th, 28th, and 29th, each day from 12 noon until 10 p.m. There will be food, fun, shopping, and great music all in one place. 8633 West Brown Deer Road, rain or shine. This event is free and open to the public. So tell a friend to meet you at the Granville Blues R&B and Gospel Fest 10th anniversary. Remember, it's the party that never ends.
Consumers everywhere are rediscovering the benefits of buying locally produced food. Not only is it fresher, tastier, and more nutritious, it's also good for the local economy. And did you know the Village Hearth and Artisan Hearth hamburger and hot dog buns and rolls you love are baked right here in the Midwest? With the state-of-the-art bakeries and facilities throughout the Midwest, freshly baked buns and rolls are delivered fresh every day to your neighborhood grocers. Village Hearth and Artisan Hearth buns and rolls, locally baked, delivered fresh daily.
Looking to do something special for Dad with Father's Day on the horizon? Well, come dive into a sea of flavor at Red Crab and enjoy the Father's Day special. This includes a pound of snow crab legs, a pound of Dungeness crab, headless shrimp, and sausage, along with 2 boiled eggs for just $99.99. That's right, just $99.99. Now until Father's Day, Red Crab is located at 5547 North Lovers Lane Road. For more information, please call 414-429-9574.
860 AM 106.5 FM. WNOV, The Voice. Now, back to Be Healthy, Be You with your host, Keith Parris, Brenda Buchanan, and Julia Jones on
Get up, brother.
What was
You better tell her to buy the rest of your clothes now.
I'm gonna be full transparency here. I admire Tyler Perry for his business acumen, what he's been able to do. But when it comes to Tyler Perry movies, I'm
glad you said it.
Thank you. I don't know if he did it or TD Jakes. Who did the movie where the woman comes home, she goes up in her closet, she puts on a dress, but it's not really fitting because he done put the other woman's clothes.
Oh, that's Tyler Perry. That's Diary of a Bad Black Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was her anniversary.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Putting her out or something like that, right?
Oh,
he did put her out. He picked her up and put her out while the lady was right there.
Tyler Perry has started a lot of fights, man.
I'm trying to figure out how come that didn't, and she was just so.
Who made the one where
we can work on this?
The guy come out the bathtub and she done put all
the
that
baby oil all over the floor.
And then whooped him.
Yeah, she beat him, man.
Yeah, man. See,
that's not Tyler Perry. That's not Tyler Perry.
That'd be the other.
Because Regina King did that.
You know, too many ideas in these women's heads.
Is that David Talbot?
Oh, they've been in.
They
just may have said, "Oh, okay, she got away with it. I think I can get away with it."
But the fact that some other woman's clothes is up in your closet, and she seemed like I'm like, whoa.
But she didn't know. Remember, because she thought he bought her a new wardrobe for their anniversary, so she had the dress, and she was like, "It's kind of big," and he was like, "I got something to tell you." And then the other woman walked in, and then she was like, "Who is this?" He was like, "Yeah, this is the reason why them clothes so big. They ain't yours. You gotta go."
He needed her in the end, though, didn't he?
Oh, she threw him in the. I just did my heart so much justice when she threw him in that water.
See. That's the thing about these movies, man.
No, she was cleaning him up. She was cleaning up. She did service to him. She had him in the water.
Wasn't that?
He got shot. Yeah.
So he was
a lawyer,
wheelchair, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was a lawyer. Mad black woman.
Yep, that's the
he was in a wheelchair. He was sitting there.
Yeah, that's Tyler Perry. That's one of my favorite Tyler Perrys.
And that's exactly the one I'm
and
talking
even
about.
though he found the Lord,
that didn't matter.
She still took care of him.
She still took care of him. She did
one with Shamar Moore in it, right?
Yes, with the braids.
Right.
With the
braids. I remember he worked in a steel mill or something.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Because there's always some light-skinned dude who's gonna be the savior. See, always gonna be some light bright dude.
There's always some Alvin Shore cat.
When she came home, he was the bus driver, light bright.
Oh, that was some sort of. Oh, that was the family reunion.
Family reunion.
Oh, okay. Yes,
light bright.
Yeah. You read poems to her.
There's always
that was Boris Kojo.
Yeah, you read poems to her.
Light bright.
Light bright.
Light bright. Go take all your kids. Oh, is that a fantasy? Is that?
Boy, these movies.
Boy.
I think Tyler Perry does a great job.
Now, with this new joint he got, Divorced Sisters, I haven't saw that now, but I think it's coming on BET. But
it's coming on BET because that's all he talked about last night during the BET Awards.
And when I tell you, it's like from some of the previews that they show.
That's a show or it's a movie?
I think it's a
show.
It's a show.
See, I don't watch his shows.
It's a show like series.
Oh no, I don't do his shows.
When I tell you, it's gonna break up a lot of.
Man, it's funny to Beat the Browns.
It's gonna break up.
That dude is so ignorant. I just
Beat the Browns.
Beat the Browns.
He a
fool, man.
It's your granddaddy.
Because you ever see him? Because he does that in church.
Yeah.
Where he's directed the choir. But David Mayer could sing.
Yeah, he could. He was on Kurt Franklin.
Yeah, he can't.
They was in the choir.
Yeah,
they was in the choir. Yeah.
Well, I like I said, I admire his business acumen.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Certainly not my taste. But that and let me say this, he's been smart enough to know his market.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say this, he stays in his lane.
Yeah.
Every now and then the departures, the triple 6. That was his.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah. Yep.
Whoever
Kerry
that
Washington,
designer
yes.
was of those uniforms.
Yeah.
Oh my
Wow.
God, those
I didn't know
uniforms. I mean, Kerry Washington has this
Mhm.
uniform. I'm like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
that's nice. And you know, some great music have come out of that. But and that's the other thing. And again, I admire him for this. He
I have
talked
this
about
picture here, Keith, that we put up from time to time.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Glad
Kerry
she got to see that
Yep.
Yeah.
before she passed away.
who's that? Miss Robertson.
Hmm.
Yeah, her funeral was last Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I gotta. But to be able to do that, but he talked about the number of millionaires he's created.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he
Mhm.
paid people their worth
Yes.
to go in, and then there were people who, like, I could think he gave Cicely Tyson like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But wasn't that your girl that said she didn't get paid enough?
Taraji P.
Yeah,
Henson. She always speaks so well of
He
Tyler
paid her
Perry.
very well.
He
Well,
told
you
he
know,
told
and-
her.
and
I'm
his
talking about,
films don't take
what's
months
her
and months
name?
to make.
Yeah.
I
What's
mean,
her
they
name
take.
from Precious?
I mean, he can show. He can
Oh,
put out a whole
Monique.
movie. in a
Monique
week.
said
And she always
she said
complains.
none of them paid her right.
She always
I mean, but
But
she's
she didn't
Monique
fall
though.
out with him. She
feel
fell
like
out
with
with
Netflix.
With
what's his
Oprah.
name?
No, was it
Oprah
and Singleton. No, it's not.
he did Precious. What's the dude's name?
John Singleton?
Huh?
Yeah, it was the John Singleton, right?
No.
No. He passed, didn't he?
No, he's still alive.
I
what's
know who
his
you're
name?
talking about. I can't think of
I
his
can't think
name.
his name. But I mean, she's Monique though.
Yeah. But some of that stuff too.
So what is she
it's
saying?
on
Oprah
her.
didn't pay her for Color Purple, or what?
Taraji
she
said
didn't get
Taraji
paid
said
enough.
that. Yeah, Taraji said
Taraji
that.
said she didn't
Lee
get paid
Daniels.
enough.
Lee Daniels, that's his name. Yeah. So that's So when Taraji P. Henson, when Tyler Perry reached out to her, she stated that he gave me my worth.
Yeah.
He told me to tell me what you want, and then she gave him a low number, and he was like, "No, like you're Taraji P. Henson. This is what I'm going to give you." So.
And I think that's what he's been able to do too. That
Yes.
you know, for people who would be on our A list, he
Mhm.
gets them.
Yes.
And so the number of people that you see in now,
Even to go out and get the likes of Janet Jackson.
Did anybody
Yeah.
see the new movie? I have
Straw.
to be in the right mindset to watch it.
Straw.
No, I haven't.
I haven't been
Rhonda
able to
loved it.
watch it. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
I know loves it, but I got to be in the right headspace to watch that because
What
I'm
is
gonna be
that?
crying.
What
the
is it
whole
about?
time.
Straw.
Straw.
What is it about?
A single mom.
A
right?
single mom. She's
mom
got
going
mental
through
health.
single mom.
Yeah, and she's got some.
I mean, but
she has a mental health crisis, and just yeah,
Oh, I did see previews.
everybody's.
Is
But
that
I
the
got to
one
be
where
in the
that-
right
it-
headspace
she
because I'm
kinda
probably gonna cry.
Yells out at. I think I saw a preview of that or something like that. She looked like she turned into a monster or something.
She has a high psychotic break.
yeah, because people don't believe that that's something that us women go through, and we do. And
Well, I think you're right. I mean, and certainly we talked about
like mental health and all
mental
those
health,
things. Yes.
the impact sometimes of pregnancy can
Mhm.
have
Mm-hmm.
on
Triggers
women, triggers,
and
and so I know when you're
Post
working with
pregnancy.
Yeah, that's correct.
I love Precious.
I was wondering how y'all going to get this conversation back on track, and you brought that full circle. That was
we
nice.
always do.
I try.
But my favorite scene in Precious
Yeah.
was the girl was so hungry.
When
I
she
thought you
ran
was
with
at
that
a chicken.
And she
Oh my
stole
God!
that
How did I
bucket-
know Keith with this chicken?
She stole that bucket of chicken and she running up the street eating that chicken out the bucket. Oh my God! I'm not supposed to laugh. I laughed my butt off.
Man, that girl says she has never been able to live that particular role down.
But
Well,
she looks
she
great.
won an
She lost so
Academy
much
Award
weight
for
and
it,
she
didn't
looks
she?
great.
No,
she-
Monique did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she hate that she did it. I think Monique got a Grammy, didn't she?
No, she won an Academy Award.
Mm.
That's her Oscar.
No, she can't get a Grammy, bro.
But the funny thing
I wonder what
was,
made Mariah Carey like do that scene
and she did it without makeup.
without makeup.
She did it without
I
makeup.
wonder.
Well, I
why.
think it will.
I mean, because she's like very.
That book is supposed to be like this great book, and let me shout out Lee Daniels. It turned
Yeah.
out to be a very, very good movie. And Monique, good, bad, or indifferent,
Yeah.
she acted when they got in the fight, and she threw the TV at her going down the stairs. And she got a few minutes later, she goes sit down, pick up the remote.
Yeah.
There ain't no TV there. And like, it didn't. Oh, that's right, I threw it at her.
Well, what you see there is, a mom going through depression and
Right.
things that she went through and traumas that she had in her life. Once again, mental health, and she put that, trauma on her
And
child.
things that are
and,
so acceptable.
Mhm.
What am I going to say? So acceptable things that we would bury.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
certainly around the issues around sexual assault and her whole thing where, look, it happened to me.
Yeah.
And as if that pathology had been normalized.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why when you get into programs, you talk about that mental health piece of it, where people are, because unless you see something different, you don't know that different exists.
That feels normal.
Right. It
That
is.
feels normal.
Right.
And we see so much of that in the community, unfortunately, that there's so much trauma, and then that trauma is just passed on. And then we want these kids to grow up and be normal functioning adults. We got to intervene at some point, because they're carrying all those generations of trauma is being laid upon them. It's like intrinsically inside them. They don't know anything different.
And that's a good thing about social media, though, because it's an encouragement to speak out in our community settings when we with our moms, they can be able to talk to other moms, because the same thing that they probably went through, they're going through. And that's why I love when we have our community events and things like that. We bring everybody from different communities, different parts of Milwaukee. They come together and they just kind of fellowship. And that's like a very, very important piece of what we do in the community.
And I think around that, and we talk a lot about our physical health, but our mental health. In terms of, I was telling Jermaine, some days you just want to holler.
Yes.
I mean, you just, and so what is my release? But then I understand, because I would suggest that sometimes we parent like we were parented, and so that's why even when we do the fatherhood classes, the parenting classes, it's kind of going like, yeah, we did it, and for the most part, we survived, right? But how much trauma have we buried? And then how does that trauma then manifest itself in our behavior in ways that we're probably not even aware? And that's one of my real concerns, is that as much as possible, we do not normalize pathology. Because as Brenda said, once it is what and this is normal, and you're going like, yeah, but it's not healthy.
Yeah, like one thing I do when I communicate with because I have boys. One thing I try to do when I'm disciplining them, try not to belittle, because a lot of times I've seen it or I witnessed it where like women would be talking to their boys, and they would be just like, like demasculating them, and it's just like they're
daddy.
Yeah, don't. That's not okay to talk to them like that.
Especially when you look like them.
He's like,
he got his trauma. He got his trauma. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to. My name is not Jimmy. My name not Jimmy. My name Keith.
You want a hug, Keith? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
You just gotta leave something there. And you look like him too.
You just like your dad.
Sound like him, and so then it turned into something else. And that D that turned into I thought we were dealing with the D I got, but you're right in terms of how we talk to each other. And I think that's the problem, the toxic, when you talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Where we're telling people we should try to resolve conflict.
And we watching conflict.
Conflict.
Right. And you're not just watching conflict, you're watching it with people who supposedly are the upper echelon, have their stuff together, and so you're looking, they got all this, but I guarantee you they can't go in public and act like that way in other places. But we look at that and we want to emulate that because we think, these are powerful women with a lot of money. They're beautiful. This is how you act.
Yeah, I love it when older women were around my children and my baby grabbed the bag or grabbed the door or help out and say, I have it. And they like, what? Yeah, that's me. And that's because I did the work on myself. So it starts with you and then it goes to, so I'm trying to change that. It's at least with my household, with the communication.
I think you're right. And let me say this about my mom. My mom never said anything negative.
Yeah.
About my dad.
Yeah.
And she never said anything. I mean, she never did.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I can see the frustration, but she didn't. So I give her credit for that. This is not scientific. This is just my little anecdotal observation. I think the relationship that women have with their dads will go a long way in terms of how they will raise their boys.
Not only that, their relationships with their husbands and so forth.
Yeah.
Certain things when your dad's a strong man, he's instilled certain things in you.
Mhm.
You're not gonna take no bunch of stuff off.
That's right.
Billy Bob.
That's right. Because I know somebody didn't hold my door, and I was like, "Yeah, this date is over." My daddy said, "A man supposed to hold my door open. I don't touch no doors when I with no men." The date was over.
Where's Chiquita? On the corner. I left her ass.
Hey, I'm the same way. You don't
Tell me I had to open the door.
You don't hold the door for me. I'm
right
out
there.
I drove my own car anyway, so it don't even matter. I drive my own car anyway. I don't get no car on no date.
You
I
back
drive my own car.
awful soon, girl. Yeah, he wouldn't open the door.
Yeah,
Right.
Keep it moving,
Girl, he was a
man.
good man. He had a good job, big house.
But wouldn't open the
Girl,
door.
nice. Go to church.
Mm.
Yeah, what happened to
He
that
just
nice
like to fight.
young
That's the only
man,
downplay.
Keith. What hit that Keith? What happened to that nice young man? You go, Mama, ain't nothing nice about Keith. Now Keith know how to act when he got around you, but
Right, he
as soon
thought I
as he
was
got
gonna
around the
open that door
corner,
for him.
What?
it's gonna be blowing. You know, like I'm out here blowing.
Pull up and blow.
Brenda, I'm out here. Let's go. You better get your butt out the car. Boy.
Come up them steps. Yeah.
Introduce
My
yourself.
mama said we don't answer no horns.
That's right.
What
What?
was it? But just talk, I know we gotta go. But they're doing this commercial now where the guy shows up for his first date and he has on his Duke gear and he pull up. To
Oh,
the crib,
yes,
and they all
and
like
the-
North
yeah,
Carolina.
Carolina. Oh yeah, close the door real quick.
Well,
Yeah.
This ain't gonna work.
This ain't
Hey,
it.
it's over.
Maybe you don't want to show up that way.
That's
you know?
right. Not on a first date.
Oh man.
Maybe never to their house after you get to know them. That's
Or
not
just
what
wear
you
something neutral.
Right.
Man, just wear white.
Yeah.
Just get you a white T-shirt.
Yeah, white
Go home.
t-shirt.
Brenda, thank you. Shakina, thank you.
Always a
Debo,
pleasure.
thank you. Jermaine, thank you. We thank everybody for being a part of the program today. The good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.
I know you got it. What did he pass away last week? How's Mary doing tonight? Huh? Like I got visions now. How's Mary doing? Yeah, I do now. I got the split screen on. Yeah. Go reach out to you. That's all.